The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
Obviously, we over budgeted last year. I hate to say that I was right, but I was right.
And I think that that's what we need to look at more, is trying to get back to what we used to be, where our churches and our families took care of each other instead of relying on the state.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
I take our constitutional rights, the constitutional rights of my constituents, very seriously.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
Mr. Speaker, no matter how you look at it, no matter how you boil this down, there is never any time that a parent's right to govern what their children see and what they're exposed to should ever be bypassed.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
We need to start making Idaho first. We need to start making America first.
We need to be protecting our First Amendment rights, not inventing ways to slowly chip away at them.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It is a good morning on the House floor today. It is January 29, 2025. I'm Matt Edwards. Welcome to Idaho Signal. It was a very good day this morning. Just moments ago, the House passed the mask mandate bill. Representative Rob Beiswinger was the sponsor for the bill this morning, and here's how he opened debate. Let's watch it.
I do hope this just simply prohibits government employees, government officials from imposing mask mandates for the purpose of virus and infectious disease transmission, from enforcing that on citizens. So we won't be able to throw anyone in jail or impose massive fines. And I want everyone to know that I truly hope this year will be the final year that we finally get this to the governor's office for his signature and put it behind us. I think everyone knows the issue here. Some local government officials in the past overreached by threatening our neighbors with jail time and massive fines. And so I'm just going to go real quickly through a couple points in the bill. This bill doesn't cost the taxpayers a single dime. This bill increases the amount of freedom that Idahoans will have because they won't have to look over their shoulder worrying that the government will be wanting to throw them in jail or fine them for simply not wearing a face mask. Third, this bill respects the rights of people who do want to wear a mask. There is nothing in this bill which will prohibit anybody from wearing a mask at any place or time. So if you're at the gym, if you're at the grocery store, if you're in a hot air balloon ride and you want to put your mask on, you're welcome to do that. We will not stop that in any way. So this bill really respects people on both sides. Now, for government officials, they will be restricted and they will not be able to throw people in jail or impose fines, but they still will be able to advise, recommend, suggest. I mean, heck, they could even beg us, to wear a mask if they feel that's the best method here. But they will be restricted here. I heard from one restaurant owner in Boise who was threatened with jail time a few years ago and an $80,000 fine for not imposing a mask mandate in his restaurant. And in Monday's committee hearing, we heard from Yvonne St. Cyr, who testified, who was just pardoned by President Trump as a January 6er a week ago. She comes back to Idaho here and is facing potentially 4 days in jail for simply not wearing a mask. I simply just think that's wrong. I think our government officials can make recommendations. We shouldn't be imposing, such harsh penalties for simple disagreements here. I hope we can all put this behind us. I ask for your support of House Bill 32, and I am going to ask for the governor for a pardon for Ms. St. Cyr. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic! Great opening there, and a little bit of a preview of what to come for. We'll get it. We're going to show the video. Well, we have a video of Yvonne. We want to share that with you in case you don't know the story too well. We'll get into that. But anyway, that was Representative Rob Beiswinger's opening remarks when presenting the bill. You heard it done very well there. When there was a couple people that spoke, Representative Cheatham. Representative Sauter got up and kind of pushed back a little bit on the bill, and no surprise there. In our investigation, in our short and sweet investigation of the Association of Idaho Cities, it turns out Representative Cheatham is part of that association, and they were the ones. Kelly Packard was the ones in committee who was voicing their opposition to this bill. Nonetheless, here's the tally. Let's roll that footage here. I don't know. Is this? Yeah, here we go. We can see it happening. And you'll notice it coming in overwhelmingly in a yay. However, it was a little bit interesting here. You'll see a vote switch from red to green. Both Mickelson and McCann, Representatives Mickelson and McCann, switched to green. I don't know if because they accidentally hit red or if they saw the board go really green and thought, you know what, I'm going to go with the crowd on this one and not have it be a campaign issue that I voted to put masks on your little children. Every one of the people in red there are perfectly fine with masking little children. And we showed the video. We don't have to play it again, but you've seen the footage. I mean, you all lived through it. You've seen all of the footage. Masking little children and sending them off to school or in a school bus or wherever they had to go. They couldn't go into the toy store unless they were wearing a mask, right? They couldn't accompany their parents to a what do you call it, a judicial hearing without wearing a mask, right? Atrocious, man, absolutely atrocious. And every single one of those people in red are okay with that. Apparently they're okay with that. That's what that tells me. That's what it should tell you. So take a hard look at that. All right. Well, good news. So we knew it was going to pass. We knew it was going to pass the House. It has before. So that's not a huge surprise. But I thank all of you out there who listened to our signal boosts, who made their phone calls, who sent in emails and all that. We definitely need to get this thing over the hump. We sent in over 1,300 signatures on a petition that we ran just at the end of the year and into the early part of this year. And that's, again, on top of the 1,800 plus signatures that we gathered in 2022 for this issue. And, we've covered it on this program, but we're sick and tired of seeing this bill, and we want it into law. And this is not going to prevent just like Rob says, not going to prevent anybody from driving around alone in their car wearing their own mask, or showing up to court wearing a mask, or showing up to school wearing a mask. They want to wear a mask, wear a mask. But you're not going to force people to wear a mask at the threat of a fine or arrest. That's just not going to happen. Just not going to happen anymore. That's it. Those days are over. Okay, well, that's what happened on the House floor. That was the big news on the House floor. Over in the Senate, they were doing some more gubernatorial appointments and whatnot. So we will. It's only Wednesday, so they still got a couple of days to provide some more bills across the floor. A couple of programming notes here. Hopefully we'll have Senator Ben Taves on since the Senate did let out. Hopefully they won't have any too long of meetings afterwards, but hopefully he will be able to come on. When he comes on, we're going to talk about this whole DEI issue at the within higher ed and within lower education. As we helped break a story. Kootenai Journal had this big expose on the DEI situation in K through 12, and so we're gonna at least go over the higher ed portion of that Senator Taves has been working on with a task force, a DEI task force. Also, Brandon Shippey. Senator Brandon Shippey out of District 9, he presented a couple of bills. We're gonna look at one today, but he's going to be with us on Friday to go over the two bills that he presented. But just to give you a quick preview, I think we have the Shippey video down there. This dealt with not forcing people to get into experimental treatments or vaccines. We're big on YouTube now, so if I say the word vaccine, we might get canceled. Oh, we don't have that. We don't have that Shippey clip. I thought I threw it in there. I thought we loaded it up. That's okay. I got you, brother. It's in there now if you want to look it up. Let's take a look at it.
So this bill is about protecting Idahoans from potential risks of experimental human gene therapy products being used as immunizations. This legislation establishes a temporary moratorium on these products for infectious disease indications, allowing time for thorough review for their safety and long-term effects. This legislation is named in honor of Doug Cameron, an Idaho rancher whose life was forever changed after receiving a genetic immunization. Once in excellent health, Doug was left paralyzed from the waist down and confined to a wheelchair. His story is a sobering reminder of the potential consequences when emerging medical technologies are deployed without sufficient caution, transparency, and oversight. As Idaho lawmakers, it is our duty to put Idahoans first. We must act with care and compassion, ensuring that our families, friends, and neighbors are not unknowingly put at risk. The Idaho way demands a common sense approach, and this moratorium provides the necessary time to evaluate these technologies while protecting our citizens. The Doug Cameron Act reflects the values that guide us as a state: safety, transparency, and a commitment to protect the health of every Idahoan. I respectfully ask for your support to introduce this legislation so that we can do what's right for the people of Idaho. Thank you, and I'll stand for questions.
Yes, very good, Senator. The bill was printed, so we'll get a full look at it when it pops up on the website. So that's very good. Yeah. So Senator Brandon Shippey will join us on Friday to talk about that bill, as well as another bill dealing with foster care and foster parents and their Second Amendment rights and the right to protect themselves and possibly their foster children. So some good stuff coming up from that. All right. I believe Brian Allman is with us. Let's bring Brian in here. He is on the go. Oh, you literally are on the go. Maybe we should let you pull over for a second here and get you situated. Yeah, no problem. All right, let's not get him in trouble. Get him off the screen there. Very good. But it's nice to see him all set up. Man, mobile technology, incredible, right? Look at that. That is mobile technology. Is he on Starlink? We're going to have to find out if he's on Starlink. All right, when he finds a spot, we will check in with Brian Allman, and we'll let him do that. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
That's exactly what happened. You want to pull the tape? You can pull the tape because we now got video.
Idaho is the dirt under your fingernails after an honest day's work. Idaho is the hug around your neck when your daughter spells her first word. Idaho is the written word of the law, steadfast and impartial, guarding liberty for all. Idaho is the family rifle passed down, a legacy of protection and the right to stand firm. Idaho is the echo of your own voice, unshaken and free, standing tall among the world's silenced. Idaho is the home that's built to weather storms, not empty wallets. Idaho is the quiet trust between a patient and healer, unbroken and sacred. Idaho is the hymn carried by the Spirit, gathering neighbors together in faith and purpose. Idaho is the laughter around a campfire, a family's bond growing stronger with every word. Idaho is the pioneer's will, firm and clear. We govern ourselves, free and unbound. Idaho is what America was. Let's keep it that way. Ask your legislator to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge to preserve our shared values. We ride together.
All right, we're back. I saw in the comments someone say that they would love to see Representative Clint Hostetler on the program. And there it is. He has been on the program. He was on early, I think maybe even the first week. And I spoke with him last week, and we tried to get him on, but he will be back. Don't worry about that. He's a really good guy. Okay, so let's while we get Brian set up here, let's just cut to this clip from this morning. Representative Bruce Skog was in committee, and he was presenting a bill that would, I guess we should back up here for a little bit, but the whole ballot initiative process in Idaho has gotten a big attention, especially because of Prop 1. And when Prop 1, the ballot initiative to have jungle primaries and ranked choice voting that y'all voted down overwhelmingly last year, it was largely funded by two things. It was funded by two things: lots and lots of money from outside the state, and lots of lies. And those two combinations can have a devastating effect. Luckily, the grassroots and the the truth set us free, so to speak, and the prop was defeated. However, we've seen in the past how things can go, so Representative Bruce Skog has taken a crack at trying to identify a particular part of this initiative process that would allow for the governor to veto the ballot initiative if it passes. If the governor has the power to veto a bill that the legislature passes, he should have the same power. He or she should have the same power to veto a bill that that goes through the ballot initiative process. And so there was a little bit of back and forth with some questions on this between Representative Todd Achilles, the Democrat, who was a huge force behind Prop 1, one of the major players behind Prop 1. And so we know that the big lefty activists, the only way they can get their stuff through is through ballot initiative process, through lies and through a lot of that leftist money that comes in from out of state. So with that, there was a little bit of a back and forth between the two. So let's watch a little bit of that.
Chairman, Representative Skog, so why after 100+ years and only 15 successful initiatives in Idaho history do we think now is the time to assume that the Constitution was inappropriately silent on the role of the governor in this? I still don't understand what problem we're trying to solve.
Representative Skog.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Achilles, I thought you were going to tell me this is a brilliant idea, so I'm a little surprised at your question. I've explained my philosophy on this and why I think it's important. We just went through an initiative process where the initiative failed, but there were so many lies that were out there propelled by millions of dollars from out of state, some in state. I think this levels things out in a good way.
Follow up?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Representative Skog, does any other state have a provision for an initiative or a referendum to be vetoed by the governor?
Representative Skog.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Achilles, I do not know. I didn't bother to look.
Okay, let's bring in Brian Allman here to kind of walk us through a little bit this with us. We had a flyer here, Brian, from some of the Prop 1 proponents. Do we have that? Can we throw that up on the screen? Here are some of the lies that was sent out by the folks at Vote Yes on Prop 1. They talked about how Idaho had open primaries for 40 years before they were closed, and this would restore open primaries. And I don't know who particularly paid for this particular one, but they quoted the Coeur d'Alene Press, who said that they were a strong yes on Prop 1. So yeah, Brian. I mean, this is what we were up against during that whole battle. What do you think of Representative Skog's solution here to have the governor have a say in this type of legislation?
It's an interesting one. It's not something I thought of, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because like Representative Skog says, the governor can veto laws passed by the legislature, in which case they need to come back with a 2/3 majority. So if the lawmaking power of the citizens of Idaho is equal to that of the legislature, then should it have the same checks and balances from the governor? I don't know. It's an interesting idea. Recall that Representative Skog also introduced a bill earlier this session that would raise the threshold for a citizens initiative to become law from 50% plus one to 60%, which some other states have varying systems. The initiative process, it was put in our Constitution many years ago by essentially during the progressive era, this idea that we need citizens to be more involved and active in government, and we can use that to shape things the way we want and put a check on corruption and runaway government. Obviously, the point that Representative Skog made in the previous hearing on the raising the threshold is that this is not really a citizens initiative anymore, is it? It's become this plaything for big out-of-state organizations who want to change Idaho law by doing an end run around the Idaho legislature, which is central to our Republican form of government. I don't know exactly what the best solution is, but it's interesting to see these come forth and have the debates. Obviously, Representative Achilles is not necessarily unbiased here. He was one of the major backers of Proposition 1, and so he's obviously invested in continuing this initiative process, and we know that they've got more things on deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. We know with the initiative process, unlike bills that can just pop up in an RS hearing right away, you have to gather signatures. You have to go through the motions. You got to get approval of your language from the AG. You got to get a fiscal note attached to it. So we do get a little bit of runway here when we know that a ballot initiative is coming. And so we've heard rumblings of an abortion one. I think they're collecting signatures on making abortion legal in Idaho, and possibly marijuana to some extent, recreational marijuana or something like that. So there's all sorts of these initiatives that you see happen around the country, and this is just going to be another way for us to protect ourselves as a small state. 2 million people that have to rally around together to make sure that the truth comes forward when you've got this onslaught of outside leftist interests pumping in their support for guys like Achilles. So I don't know. I'm glad they're trying to do something. I don't know if any of this stuff will ever get over the hill, though.
Yeah, it's we'll see what happens. One interesting thing to compare the legislature with a citizens initiative is that in the legislature, if somebody comes up with something, whether it's true or false, an opinion, they can immediately be pushed back because you have other legislators in the committee or on the floor who can say, hold on, this, I completely disagree with this. This isn't true. On the other hand, this initiative, they spent millions of dollars of outside money coming in and presenting things that were not true, saying that it was going to just restore open primaries, which, as you said, was not the case at all. And in order to combat that, you needed other people to raise more money to present an opposing point of view. So it's a very different playing field.
Absolutely. And it might have been okay to battle if you knew that the press was on the side of truth. If the press came out and said, by the way, headline, all those things are not true. If they were fact checking, right? If we had the fact checking, if we had community notes, can we put community notes at the bottom of ballot initiatives and all that stuff? I mean, that would be interesting. Anyway, all right. Well, the bill, the RS did get printed. So we'll get a full look at the bill once it's up on the legislative site, and we'll keep tabs on it. One of the other hot topics, Brian, is immigration. And Senator Kelly Anthon in the Senate State Affairs Committee presented a bill that, I haven't looked at it yet. I don't know, but it was interesting how he framed it today, based on all the things that are going on in our country right now. I don't know if he's just trying to capitalize on the what's going on with Homan and ICE across the country. But here's his part of his presentation this morning.
Today, in particular, what this act will do is a number of things. It is focused primarily on finding those people who are in the country illegally and in the state of Idaho illegally, who are dangerous criminals. It will help us identify them, detain them, and then make sure that they are deported from the state of Idaho. It will also create a new crime of unlawful presence of a dangerous illegal alien in the state of Idaho, a new crime of smuggling a dangerous illegal alien in the state of Idaho, and it will create a sentencing enhancement of 5 years to the prison sentence of any illegal alien who commits a dangerous crime in the state of Idaho. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I ask that RS 32110 be introduced.
Okay, Brian, I have a number of questions here, but what's your first take on this?
My first take is that this is why winning matters. This is why leadership matters, because President Trump won the presidential election, and this is, one of his big priorities. I think you're going to see a lot of Republican state governments that maybe would have been hesitant to do anything about the issue. They're going to be falling in line. Obviously, there's still a disconnect here. This is going after illegal aliens who commit violent crimes, and yeah, that's a great start. That's where Tom Homan and ICE are starting right now as well. But we know, the McClure Center came out and said we probably have at least 35,000 illegal aliens in Idaho that are working, and that are, obviously not all of them are committing violent crimes. But as the president's press secretary said the other day, just the act of being here illegally is already a crime. So hopefully this is just the start. Obviously, they're going to run into a wall here when so many Republicans are invested in having illegal alien workers in dairies and farms and other industries, and they're going to push back on anything that puts a stop to that. So this debate is going to come. This issue is going to come to a head, and we're going to have to figure out as a state. Does citizenship matter? Does work visas matter? Do our laws actually matter?
Yeah, and very good points. But a couple of things that I noticed here was it sounded a little bit contradictory, because again, he wanted to go after violent criminals who are here illegally and deport them, but then also he talked about something about a 5-year sentence for criminal illegal aliens. So I don't know if you deport them and then insist that the country put them in jail for 5 years, or we hold them for 5 years, give them 3 square meals a day, and then deport them. So I'm very interested to look at the language of this bill and see what it really does, because also aren't we going after violent criminals anyway? That's one of the primary purposes of our law enforcement and what our government should be doing, right?
Of course, on the other side, there's Representative Jaron Crane. He has his bill that he just reintroduced today that handles things on the law enforcement side once they pick someone up who's an illegal alien. Because apparently right now, if you're an illegal alien and you get in trouble for something like a car accident or something that's bad, but it's not going to put you in jail without bail or something, you just kind of fall through the cracks, because they don't actually know who you really are, because you're probably using stolen identification or stolen ID. And so, obviously we need a method to track that. And yeah, if somebody's obviously committing a violent crime, it'd be interesting to trace exactly where they go now. Do they just sit in the system and not be deported, or do they, are they released and then we never see them again? It's questions that need answers.
Questions that need answers, and lots of plane tickets. Let's start reserving.
Get those military transports running some more.
Yeah, let's get them going. Some helicopters, perhaps. I don't know. Something. Let's get going. Okay. We know you're on your way somewhere. I don't want to pry into your personal life or anything like that. But what are you headed towards, metaphorically speaking? Looking forward to the rest of the day and committees and so forth.
Well, I'm headed to the Capitol. We'll see what happens in the afternoon committees. Obviously, there's more to come. Mask mandate bill that you showed, it passed, so it's going to head over to the Senate and hopefully in a couple days, and hopefully we'll get a hearing. All these tax cut bills are still waiting for their committee hearings as well. So lots of stuff on the horizon.
Yeah, and real quick on the tax thing, we saw a post. I don't know if we don't have it, but I saw a X post from Speaker Moyle kind of saying like, hey, we've got the 250 million income tax cut, we've got the sales tax food credit thing going up, we've got the property tax thing coming, and then he said, and there's more to come. What else could there be? Except more slashing it again or something. I mean, when I think of all the 3 buckets of taxes, what else do you think is on the horizon?
I'm not sure. There's perhaps more they can do with property tax, to continue to build on that. There's, more tweaks they can do here and there. I mean, eventually they're going to run out of things to do, but hopefully we see some more, because, the fewer taxes that go into the government is the less that they can spend.
Exactly. Very good. Well, I know earlier this morning in the House Rev and Tax Committee, Kathleen Ireland she did a presentation on, it's called Property Tax Basics. And so we're going to take a look at that and maybe post the whole thing. We'll see what kind of information she provides. But she is a property tax research specialist at the Idaho State Tax Commission. Were you able to tune in a little bit of that?
Yeah, I was watching some of that with my homeschool civics class this morning and trying to explain what property taxes mean. I found that even homeowners, grown adults, sometimes have trouble grasping how the property tax system works. So I think that would be a valuable thing for just regular people to watch. Because you get people who panic when they see the assessment and say, oh, my house has gone up, that means my taxes are going to go up. It's just not necessarily the case. And there's also, property taxes are frustrating, but they are the most local tax. So you go to your taxing district's budget hearings, and sometimes you might be the only one there, and you're the only one telling them, hey, wait a second, don't raise these taxes. I want to keep my money instead.
Yeah, very good point. All right. Well, good. Well, I'm glad to know that it was worth it. And we will, we'll pull that footage and maybe we'll just post it up by itself. Like I said, we'll take a look at it. Maybe we'll find some good clips to share tomorrow as well. Yeah, it is one of the most misunderstood property taxes. I mean, taxes that is out there, and people always think that it's all in the legislature's hands, but it really isn't. I mean, they can try, so it's a big mess. But all right, well, we'll keep watch on that. Very good, Brian. Thank you so much. Drive safely down to the Capitol, and we look forward to watching you online. Post any of your many threads giving us information. And where can people do that, Brian?
Of course, on X, Twitter, at GemStateBrian, I try to do live threads and pictures from wherever I am, and then I'll break it down later. But that's often just a play-by-play. In another life, I was calling baseball games on the radio, and then of course GemStateChronicle.com, where news and commentary to empower you to be more engaged, just like
Fantastic.
This program.
All right, very good. All right, well, thanks, Brian. We'll catch you on the flip side. All right, everybody, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. We hopefully, like I said, expect to have Senator Ben Taves with us, but things may happen. It's always very volatile situations down at the Capitol, so we'll see if we can do that. Otherwise, we've got some other stuff to cover and get you up to speed on. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government and what we were tasked to do.
Idaho lawmakers swear an oath to support the Idaho and U.S. constitutions. But how's that working out for you? Because not all Idaho lawmakers share the same values. That's where the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge comes in. 10 statements inspired by those two founding documents that are designed to preserve our shared values. Values such as education freedom, safeguarding free speech, defending our protected right to self-defense, and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. When a lawmaker signs the pledge, they are performing an act of political courage, accepting the challenge to be a champion for our values, and serving with political integrity. To find out if your lawmaker signed the pledge, visit idahopledge.com. Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We ride together.
Okay, we are back. Thank you for joining us. Again, all of our new fantastic subscribers and viewers over on YouTube, thank you for finding us. Thank you for following us. Thank you for tuning in. It's really great. I do want to encourage you, though, to go over to Rumble and set up an account there, because you never know what's going to happen over here on YouTube, because we do cover a lot of the truth, and sometimes YouTube is a little afraid of that. So if you wouldn't mind going over to Rumble, find us there, Idaho Signal, and hit follow if you already have an account, or just set up an account and click follow. That way we will we'll find us in both places. And then of course on X, we're streaming live right here on X, and hopefully we can get your comments in here, and we'll show them up on the screen. Okay, earlier this morning, of course, the mask mandate bill, big news, passed the House with flying colors. Very good. Those in red, remember, those in red want to mask your children. They have no problem putting masks on your children. So, and there they are. That being said, what also happened was at the end of Rob Beiswinger's opening debate on the issue this morning, he said he was going to petition the governor for a pardon for this woman here. She testified earlier was it last week? It was last week. She testified on her name's not David Pettinger. That gentleman was up earlier, and they didn't swap the name, so don't be confused by that. But this is maybe we can put her name at the bottom, Yvonne's name. Anyway, let's listen to some of her testimony here.
Yvonne?
Yes.
Okay.
And as David said, I am a January 6er. I was pardoned 1 week ago for my participation in the protest against a stolen election. I spent nearly 15 months in federal prison. I was released 2 weeks ago to the halfway house. I spent 1 week in the halfway house until I was pardoned by President Trump. In December of 2020, I went to a mask mandate at Central District Health and to protest the hearing to force us to wear masks. My body, my choice. I'm a sovereign being, and no one's going to tell me what I need to cover my mouth and breathe. My breath is sacred, and I will fight with every breath I have to make sure that my freedoms are not taken away. And this mask mandate was taking away my freedom to breathe, to take a deep breath and not have to breathe recycled air. And there was no proof that those masks were helping us medically. And they were not going to take away my health. I'm a healthy woman, and I wasn't going to be unhealthy because somebody was scared or feared a disease. I've got home, I served 15 months, and I'm facing 4 days in jail for that mask mandate. We went through the appeal process. I lost in the appeal, and now I have to face 4 more days of jail time plus a $500 fine because I took a stand against a mask. I think that's wrong. I think that's a violation of my rights as a human being, the right to breathe, the right to live on this earth. And I think that it was draconian, and that people forcing things on us is wrong.
Thank you, Yvonne. Are there questions for Yvonne today? Yvonne, what jurisdiction were you charged in?
It was in Boise. I lived in Kuna at the time, but it was in Boise at the Central District Health. It was a citizen's arrest, and then the Idaho State Police were there, and they just took me in. I wore the mask. I just refused to put it over my mouth and nose.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Well, there you have it, folks. And just to remind you, I remember Governor Brad Little saying, "Oh, there were no mask mandates in Idaho. We didn't do this. We didn't do that." You know, and yet here's a woman who's going to be sentenced to 4 days in prison. Was that what it was for not wearing a mask in Idaho? And again, this is why this bill is important. So it passed the House this morning. It's on its way to the Senate. And the Senate is going to be on notice. We have big eyes on the Senate, folks. Big eyes watching the Senate. And so we expect them to get this bill through just as another nail in the coffin on this whole masking issue, as well as a signal to the governor that he should be pardoning folks like Yvonne. Speaking of the Senate, it is my pleasure here. I believe we do have Senator Ben Taves with us here. Hello, Senator. Good to see you. I was just saying you guys are on notice now. The mask mandate bill passed in the House this morning, so it'll be hitting I believe you're in State Affairs, so I think it's going to be hitting your committee, hopefully. Real quick, any reaction on that?
Oh, yeah, it's great news. Great news to me.
Okay.
It's long overdue, in my opinion.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. All right, good. We're going to keep tabs on that in your committee for sure. So you might be seeing me there if it ever gets a hearing. So that being said, Senator,
I'm very hopeful that it'll get a hearing. I've heard a good report about the possibilities.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. Okay, so we wanted to bring you on here today because there's two big things are going on that I think you're behind at the moment. Is you're part of this DEI task force that is looking into all these DEI programs at our universities, and it's perfect timing right now, obviously, because since President Trump has won. I mean, they are just like cleaning house when it comes to all this DEI stuff in the federal government. So walk us through a little bit about what the task force is doing, where you are right now, and how this is going to help Idahoans in our higher education.
Yeah, certainly. So the task force, I think we met 4 times, and we are, as far as I can tell, we're finished with that whole process. And I had the privilege of being able to present legislation, even present, what other states were doing, like what was done in Utah, and look for the best practices from all the different states that have actually made some headway in this area with DEI. So I brought a bill to that committee. And we took that and I kind of refined it, talked to the co-chairs, talked to the universities to a certain extent to get their feedback, and talked to the AG's office and refined it a bit and presented that at our last meeting. And it actually passed there was only one vote against recommending that legislation as it was written to the legislature. So I'm really hopeful that with that kind of momentum coming out of that committee, we put a fair amount of time into studying into the issue and finding the best way to approach this, that we're going to see a clear path for this DEI legislation going into the actual process, because the interim committee is just going to make recommendations. It's not going to actually do any legislative work per se. So I'm looking for an introduction. Likely we will introduce that for a print hearing this week. I'm hoping Friday, if not Friday, Monday. We'll introduce that in State Affairs on the Senate side, and I've already got the green light to have that print hearing in that's from the chairman. So really hopeful about the possibilities of getting that across the finish line. And I've got co-sponsors. Senator Lakey's agreed to co-sponsor it with me, and so definitely a lot of support from my fellow senators.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like this might just become a partisan issue, in which case you got, the supermajority there. So if all the Republicans are on board with this, it might just come down to a little bit of finagling on language, maybe. I mean, what would be the one thing that might hold something like this back? Because I think this is, like I said, it seems to be more of a partisan issue. These are leftist policies that were put into place. So, is there any bumps in the road you think you might encounter from your own caucus?
I actually believe that I've addressed all of the concerns. The biggest concern that I run into the most often is having a private cause of action. And I backed it off slightly to have the private cause of action only giving injunctive relief in this case. So if a student or a staff member is encountering the issues that are prohibited in the bill, they would be able to look to a court to get a remedy to fix that issue, but there's not monetary damages. So that kind of defangs the most common criticism, but we still have some really strong enforcement mechanism through the AG's office, which can levy up to a 2% of the state monies going to the institution can be taken away from them if they aren't following the requirements as we've outlined in the legislation. So it has plenty of teeth on the AG side, and so I didn't feel like we'd have to have that on the private cause of action necessarily. So I think I've got a pretty clear path through. The pro tem, I've met with the pro tem, and he's been very positive about it when I met with him as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, at least there's some teeth somewhere on this, because that's usually the big thing. Sometimes you pass bills that have no teeth on it, and then it's like whatever. Okay. All right. Well, speaking of the AG now, this is a very interesting bill. Some may not think that it is as it's as needed as it should be, but I think this bill is interesting. Walk me through its House. Did it pass the House? The AG it passed the House. A bill that would allow the AG to look into city officials if they commit a crime. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when it was in the House. It made it to the Senate, where you're the sponsor, and then it got sent to the 14th order, which, for everybody who doesn't know, that's where you amend bills on the floor. Walk me through why this bill is important for us.
Yeah, certainly. It deals with corruption, and corruption in government is obviously something that we have to be constantly aware of, and we have to have solutions for citizens to seek a solution if there's corruption. And so I've actually been getting emails from people that are dealing with exactly the kind of issues that this legislation was created to address. And so I'm going to have to start bringing those issues to the people that were a little bit reluctant to pass it through the committee. And because they were asking, they're like, do you have specific instances? And I didn't bring up specific instances in the committee hearing, but I have plenty of them flooding into my email. So I'm going to be passing those on and being like, hey, this is something we need to address. There are, I'd say, legitimate concerns about some past behavior of a prior AG where they went into at the county level and caused some issues on what I would say were very minor issues, and they may have been politically motivated. I know that's the concern of the committee members who weren't supportive of this bill or were only supportive of it going to the amending order. So I'm hopeful that I can kind of bring them around, or I can find a way to modify it to address their concerns. But it's definitely necessary. What we have in this case, right now the AG can go into the counties and address criminal issues with elected officials, and they can and they can do investigations and figure out what's going on. But at the city level, it's the counties that do that. Well, I mean, in my district, the city and the county are so close together that it would be a pretty awkward situation for the prosecuting attorney to go into the city and deal with anything at that level. So I think it makes total sense that you could bring the AG in that situation. So I'm hopeful that we can do something still, but that's their concern is from past AG's behavior and what they did at the county level that they felt was totally unwarranted.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm very curious to know some of these specific cases as well, because highlighting these stories that prove the need for this bill is going to be very crucial to help it get through. So maybe I'll talk to you offline. I can get some of these stories and see if anybody wants to come forward to talk about their claims. Very interesting, very powerful stuff. All right, Senator. Idea. Yeah, great. Okay, good. Now last session you were very bullish on the pro-family and traditional families, traditional values and such like that. I hope we get to see some more of that this year, because I know some of that stuff didn't really make it through in terms of the resolutions and stuff. I mean, there were some important bills that you helped pass to protect children. So I hope to see more of that coming down the line. But what can you tell the people that lies ahead and that's in your drawer that you hope to pull out here soon?
Can you say that again? It was breaking up really bad. There's an issue on the connection.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to allow you some time to let people know what sort of things might be in your drawer that you'll be pulling out here when it comes to families and children and stuff, because I know that's a big issue for you.
Yeah. So I just that resolution to have a traditional family values month in Idaho. There was some concerns, and I think I can see the concerns that it leaves out some of the situations where you have single mothers or single fathers, and it doesn't bring them into the equation. And so I added a line just recognizing the sacrifices and the difficult situation that single parents are often in into the resolution. And I think that having addressed that, I'll be able to get a hearing on that next week. So I'm really hopeful that if you remember last session that passed through the House to have a traditional family values month from Mother's Day to Father's Day every year, and to celebrate different portions of the family during that period of time. As we all know, the incidence of divorce is going up, people getting married later, having fewer children. And the goal of this is to celebrate the family and to just put that to the forefront and say, this is what a healthy family looks like. This is what's healthy for our society. And so I'm really hopeful that we can get this across the finish line. I'm starting it in the Senate this year. I know that the House State Affairs Chair is supportive of it. And I think that I've gotten to the point where I can get a hearing shortly on it. So I have other legislation dealing with children. I have one that I'm gonna bring forward for the third time to protect grade school age children from any kind of sexual training, radical gender theory. So I'm going to bring that back forward again. I'm hopeful that I can get that through the process this time. It's been baffling to me that I couldn't in the past, but I think that some of the barriers are gone now. So.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we highlighted a story that the Kootenai Journal did up here in your neck of the woods on this accreditation agency that does accreditation for K through 12 schools. That is all a DEI. It's all embedded in there. And so these school, I have a feeling that the school districts and a lot of these schools are fearing removing anything that might go against what the accreditations agency says they need to have, because they might lose accreditation. So hopefully once your higher ed DEI goes through, we can look into this DEI problem in our public schools, and it might help address some of the things that you're looking forward.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and we could continue that task force and just give it a new charge. It was focused mostly on the secondary education or post-secondary, and so we could go and look at, most of that's in high school because it's the required accreditation starts grades 9 through 12 for schools to be able to participate in athletic activities and things like that. So, it's crazy how it used to be that these accrediting agencies were regional. They probably had like the local flavor, of their communities, and then it slowly consolidated till we now have accreditation for our K through 12 that is accrediting agency that covers all of the country, and I think even around the world, which is Cognia. So yeah, I see that as something that we definitely need to look into further. We need to look at the accreditation at the university level as well. So there's still work to be done.
Yeah, and we're thankful. So we're so thankful that you're there. You're also in a leadership position in the Senate, so that's good news should be good news for Idahoans. So to see that. All right, Senator Taves, thank you so much. Where can people follow you and maybe sign up for a newsletter or something to keep tabs and help you out when you need it?
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor to serve. You can sign up for my Substack. So if you go on Substack, you'll find me pretty easily. It's Ben for Idaho, Ben the number 4 Idaho, and then my website's the same thing, benforidaho.com. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you, Senator. We'll check it back with you soon.
All right,
all right, take care. Very good, the good senator. Yeah, always a great guest to have on here. Always working hard, and we really do appreciate it. So very good. All right, folks, we're coming up near the end here. Let's tie up some loose ends. Loose ends we got to tie up. We were talking about the mask mandate thing again. And folks, like I said, we are going to go hard on the Senate on this. They must pass it. Senator Taves is on that State Affairs Committee, so he's hopeful that it'll at least get a hearing, because I don't even think it got a hearing. I know it didn't get a hearing last time, but when former Representative Kerry Hanks had the bill back in 22, it never got a hearing then, and it passed the House. So it's been 3 years since that first bill. And it's been 5 years or 4 years, whatever, since all this stuff went down, and we still can't do it. So we're going to keep paying attention to that. Okay. Another interesting development this morning was Representative Heather Scott. She was in the state of, where was she? Health and Welfare, I think, maybe, or Transportation. I don't know. She was in a committee this morning, and she identified a program that the state implemented in 2020 that she confessed she voted against it. She didn't want to have it, and she said, I don't know if maybe let's just play the clip and let her say it. If she doesn't say it, then I'll fill you in on what she says it. But let's watch. Well, I guess I have to tell you what it's about, because the clip we have is someone pushing back on it or asking what it's about. No, that's what the clip is. I'm sorry, guys. The clip is Representative Ilana Rubel asking Heather Scott what the Yellow Dot program is. How's that for a segue? Go ahead.
Just give us a little bit more color around what the Yellow Dot program is.
Well, maybe you should come back for a hearing to find out more. You should have in your packet, I think, all the code that would be removed, and it's a program where you give all your medical information to the government. They give you a yellow dot to put on your car. And when an emergency arises, EMS can recognize that yellow dot and be able to look up your information and find some of your medical information. So maybe it had a great idea, but it's really something government shouldn't be involved in. And I really think if you have EMS showing up on a scene, they're going to go right to the problem. They're trained for this kind of stuff. They're not going to go look on a website to dig up information. It just doesn't seem like it makes sense. So it was well-intentioned. I think what the health and welfare and teams with the Department of Transportation on this is, it was a feel-good project where they can give out little, applications for the program at events and stuff, but it never really took hold, and so it's really irrelevant. And I did check with the Health and Welfare Department if they had any problems with removing this, and they were good with it. So, and most of the people I talked to had no clue that it was even out there. So it's just cleaning up code. It was actually a bill that passed when I was in session in 2020, and I remember I voted against it at the time, and I thought someday I want to take that back out, and this is the day. Well, maybe not today, but
yeah. We're not voting on the bill.
Not sending it to the third reading or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, committee.
All right, very good. Well, the RS did get a print, and it will become a bill, and we'll follow it along. It's so fascinating, government, comes up with these programs. They say, give us all your information and we'll help you. And it's a public service. And sure, like it's well-intentioned. Like you hear it and you go, oh yeah, I mean, don't we want to have all of these things available for medical, life situations? Like I can hear the arguments now all for it, right? Life-saving information at the touch of at the tip of their finger, the tip of their fingers, for when they're trying to treat you at an accident site. Like I get it. Like, yes, okay, I get that. But is that government's responsibility? Is that taxpayers' responsibility to run a program like that? Or can it be done even more efficiently where maybe, there's those companies that sell those life alert tags, and all those different things that help medical professionals when they show up to a scene and they see you have something on them, or the bracelets that say that you're a diabetic or whatever it is. Like all of those things don't need to be handled by the government. It's just another way to collect data. It's just another way for the government to collect data on you and then turn it around. and use it nefariously. I mean, I'm sorry, but we live in a post-COVID world. We know what the government's up to. It's like, I'm not anti-government, but we have to put guardrails on what we can and can't do. And today was a great sign that Idaho is leading the way on this. I mean, you put the guardrails on the mask mandate business. You say we don't need to have these programs in statute that no one's signing up for anyway. I mean, what a shock. No one in Idaho wants to give all their medical information to the government. What a shock. So get it out of there. Get it out of the thing. Stop funding it. I don't even know if it costs money, but let's just get it out of there. I'm sure it costs money at some point. I mean, little yellow dot stickers do cost money. Okay, Senator Foreman, real quick before we go, Senator Foreman, we showed him presenting a bill that would say that Idaho wouldn't take part in anything that the World Health Organization, the WHO, we wouldn't take part in any of that. And there was some pushback on that bill because of the supremacy clause of the United States. So Senator Foreman went to the AG's office and spoke to them about it and came back with a new version of the bill. So to put your little hearts at ease here on what the good senator is doing with this bill, it's still alive, it's still out there, and let's hear what he had to say.
On a review of the original RS by the Idaho Attorney General's office. The AG rightly indicated the state of Idaho would likely run afoul of the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution upon claiming we as a state were not subject to agreements between the federal government and outside entities like the WHO. However, we may, like the state of Oklahoma has done, codify we will not use state resources to enforce any mandates or requirements levied by the WHO as per any agreement between that organization and the federal government. And as such, any enforcement action would have to take place at the federal level. The WHO has been heavily criticized for being very slow to respond to the COVID pandemic and for opposing international travel restrictions. Also, the organization was criticized for supporting the misinformation coming from the Chinese Communist government that denied the possibility of human-to-human COVID virus transmission. The WHO leadership actually praised the Chinese government's response to the COVID crisis and its commitment to transparency. Now, the WHO is currently working on completing a global pandemic agreement that would become an international legal agreement between its 196 member nations. In May of 2024, Idaho Attorney General Labrador joined 21 other attorneys general in writing a letter to President Biden opposing the WHO's plan to rewrite the organization's international health regulations and create a new pandemic treaty. The text of the letter claimed the WHO was attempting to undermine states' authority and imperil constitutionally guaranteed freedoms while attempting to vest power in its own director general. This, the letter claimed, would restrict our citizens' rights to freedom of speech, privacy, movement across state borders, and informed consent. Now, President Trump has recently withdrawn the United States from membership in the WHO. The U.S. was paying more than any other nation, and our 2025 assessment from the WHO was in excess of $261 million.
Oof. All right.
However,
well, there's Senator Foreman
withdrawal from
with that bill. So that's a new RS. So it did get printed, so it'll move forward there. We'll pay attention to that. I know everybody's excited about staying away from the WHO. Wow, a nice through lines today, from the mask mandates to the WHO to the vaccines. I mean, it's very, very good. Very nice way. Nice. It's a nice way that the universe is set into motion. We're headed in the right direction, folks. We're headed in the right direction. To celebrate that, head over to lifecda.com and have yourself some coffee. Use the promo code SIGNAL, get 10% off your order, and do me a favor, order a lot of coffee. Just order a lot of coffee right now. Just order bags and bags of coffee. Use the promo code SIGNAL and get 10% off your order. Remember, the more you order, the higher the 10% goes, the more you save, right? Isn't that how it works? LifeCDA.com, promo code SIGNAL from our good friends over here in Coeur d'Alene at Life Public House. Okay. All right. That's it. We're at the end of the show, folks. We're at the end of the show. Man, I'm sorry. I am tongue tied today. It's been a rough. I know I say that every day, but today was a little rougher than usual. But I appreciate you watching. And folks, really, what this show is all about. Just to remind you, what this show is all about. We're not here for your entertainment, man. If I was good at doing entertainment, I'd be doing something else. I don't know what that means. But other than that, this show is to help elevate and amplify your voice. And so you see the phone number down at the bottom. Yeah, more coffee. Thanks. You see the phone number down at the bottom. You see the email. Shoot us a voicemail. We'll play it on the air. We want to know what you're thinking. But more importantly, we want you guys to be activated. Sign the petitions. You know, there's plenty of other groups around the state that are doing great work. Like, follow them. Make sure you're engaged with them and following their information. One of the I don't have it right now because I want to make sure I get it all correct. Or I'll get it all correct though. But I was speaking with one of our great viewers last night. They have a bill tracker. And their bill tracker, you can sign up on Telegram and follow them on Telegram for all these important bills and know exactly where they are in committee and where they're headed. And how you can get involved in making sure you can help stop a bill or throw up a bill. So we're going to have that information for you. We'll get it prepped better at the end of the week here. But it's a bill tracker. So there's great folks like you are out there that are grassroots, that are providing this information. And if we can connect everybody instead of being in different silos, then we can really have a big impact. We already are having a big impact. I mean, Senator Ben Taves is now in leadership. You got Representative Josh Tanner and Jaron Crane. You know, I mean, these guys are folks that we have championed for a couple of years now, and to see them have a bigger influence on the House and the Senate is a good thing for conservatives. It's a good thing for our values, and we are super, super excited to get moving forward. I know someone mentioned Clint Hostetler. We're going to have him on. I was texting with Senator Glenita Zeiderfeld. She hasn't been on the show this season yet, so we'll get her on. We're going to get all these folks on, folks, and really move forward here. But I need you all to share the program. I need everybody to just like get a taste of what we're doing here on Idaho Signal. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow with more. So yeah, stick around, folks. We'll see you next time. Take care. More coffee.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.